You're listening to The Bird Bath, presented by The Fountain Report. I'm your host, Ryan Leach. Welcome back to The Bird Bath. Each week we scrape the surface of the news you need to know, so let's get into it. This week we've got an edition coming to you from the English countryside. After a really fun and great week visiting people across the London Vet Show, I'm taking a little time to put my feet up out in the English countryside. And the important thing, though, to know is that the news never sleeps. So we've still got hot stories for you to understand about what's happening, not just in our U.S. veterinary landscape, but across the world. So kicking us off is going to definitely be using the word global quite a bit. Zoetis has had some major leadership changes. They announced the appointment of Jamie Brannan to a newly created role of Chief Commercial Officer, overseeing all commercial markets across the globe. Wafa Mamili, who's currently the Executive Vice President, Chief Digital and Technology Officer, and Group President for China, Brazil, and Precision Animal Health, has informed the company that she's going to be stepping down and leaving the business and staying through 2025. There was also an additional departure of Esther Bank, who was serving as the Executive Vice President and President of U.S. Operations. She's transitioning out of her role, but staying on in an advisory capacity until the beginning of 2025. A lot of people moving up and moving around. With Wafa Mamili's departure, there's going to be a new Executive Vice President and Chief Digital and Technology Officer. They also have a ton of new people that are going to be shuffling around the global operations. Jared Shriver has been promoted to President, U.S. Operations, and will be reporting directly into Jamie Brannan. So a lot of big shuffles around the Zoetis world, and they also had a very active and busy London Vet Show. I had the opportunity to see the world unveiling of the OptiCell, which is an incredible piece of technology utilizing AI to improve the accuracy of complete blood count analysis. So really cool technology to see. And obviously a lot of it goes over my head, but after having seen some of these machines, the predecessors in practice, seeing the absolute small counter space and size that we're seeing, is a lot of practices are switching to a smaller footprint recently. This is something that could be really cool to check out in the future. It's going to be launching in the US in 2025 and the US unveiling at VMX. So make sure to check it out. It had a lot of buzz around the show. Another company with quite a bit of news, but this one not so great. Elanco is in some deep trouble. They have agreed to pay a $15 million civil fine to the SEC for anti-fraud charges. I'm going to read a few things directly from the report there, but the SEC said that Elanco misled investors when it made statements about its revenue growth and end user demand without also disclosing its reliance on certain quarter-end sales incentives that were necessary to achieve that revenue, and caused its distributors to purchase goods in excess of existing end user demand. What all that meant was that prior to the pandemic in 2019 and early 2020, Elanco was pushing forward demand with special pricing and incentives that encouraged the end users to actually purchase, or even the veterinary and distributors to actually purchase more product than they needed to hit milestones and pricing discounts. What Elanco didn't disclose from the words here was that those numbers would make it unsustainable to continue the growth because they were pushing forward the demand. They saw a first quarter drop of $160 million decline in revenue. So all in all, Elanco did not admit or deny SEC findings and consented to the entry of an order that it cease and desist from committing or causing any violations and any future violations of these provisions of the federal securities law. So $15 million is nothing to scoff at, but it was interesting to see that a company is being penalized for pushing forward those sales figures. And when you have a publicly traded business, there's a lot of additional disclosures that go into that. Another big company making even bigger moves is GenMills has announced a definitive agreement to acquire White Bridge Pet Brands. They're a premium cat food and pet treat business from a company overseas called NXMH for $1.45 billion. The acquisition is going to include brands like Tiki Pets and Cloud Stars, which are part of the consistent and massive growth that we're seeing in the cat space. Cat food and pet treat segment alone is generating $24 billion in retail sales within the total $52 billion US pet food market. General Mills says that it's aimed to expand the footprint in the pet sector by integrating the Whitebridge offerings with its Blue Buffalo portfolio. Part of the deal, General Mills will take over 2 manufacturing facilities in Missouri. The original parent company, NXMH, is going to retain the European operations in the brand. So this is a U.S. acquisition that they're doing here. Pretty cool. It's a lot of big space where we're seeing more and more people invest into the cat world. And we're seeing an increase in the premium portfolio that people are looking to add into their businesses. So expect to see more Tiki Pets as well as Cloud Star on your shelves, and continue to expect to see a lot more pet food companies, as we know there's a lot of startups in the space, being acquired by the big guys like General Mills, Mars, Purina, Nestle, right? The same company there, as well as potentially seeing Colgate Palmolive and expanding their Hills lines. Finally, this is a loop into the London side of things, but myRNA has announced the opening of a new lab in the United States. myRNA, if you're not familiar with them, is a Scottish company that does veterinary diagnostics, and they focus on early disease detection through the combination of biomarker technology and an AI platform. Right now, they can do cardiac disease, kidney disease, and prognosis and prediction. And then in their pipeline, they're looking at osteoarthritis, cancer, as well as heartworm for future diagnostic treatment. So it's pretty neat to see them continuing to grow. I had a wonderful opportunity to bump into some of the founders while I was in London, and we chatted a bit about this. They highlighted the fact that earlier this year, securing a $4 million Series A funding allowed them to fuel the growth into the US market. So I always am happy to see some of our European friends coming into the US market. I think it's a really cool thing, and it seems like some spectacular technology. Finally, just on the personal side of things, I had a wonderful, wonderful time in London at the London Vet Show. It's one of these events that I had not been to before. And if you haven't been and you do any business in the European market, I would not be able to stress enough how incredible it was. It was a really unique layout. It's an event that keeps all of the, what they call delegates, or we call participants or attendees, but I like the word delegates. It feels classier. But they keep all the delegates really in the conference hall and in the exhibit hall, with the theaters and the different galleries situated across the exhibit hall as well as through it. So people that are there checking out the show really have a reason to continue to check out new companies and learn about new things. So it was incredible. I had the really fun opportunity to get to spend some time with Jack Peplow, who's with Veterinary IT Services in the UK. And he puts on the Modern Veterinary Practice Theater, as well as do a really, really fun and kind of playful talk for co-vet and fear-free about how we can utilize AI technology to increase the adoption and ability for people to practice fear-free medicine. So if you want to hear more about that, just let me know. I'd love to bring more of these topics to you. I'm always interested in seeing what other shows are out there and what incredible other things are happening. I've got a really great list of upcoming events and events that I'm going to be attending and doing birdbath live sessions at on my Substack. And it's a great place to find more on the stories we talk about here, updates, and other great stories. So join us by subscribing to the Birdbath Substack. There's a link in the bio, and don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing and rating the show. For the Birdbath, I'm Ryan Leach. See you next week.